I know everyone has mostly heard of my main testimony many times, but I've been spirit filled for now over half my life. And yay. And I grew up in a churchy atmosphere. I went to church a lot, but no one ever told me about salvation based in the Bible. I heard it from my best friend who heard it online from somebody witnessing all the way over in Australia and in Adelaide. And so 3 months later, when I prayed to receive, I spoke in tongues, and I was immediately healed from a really deep, profound depression. And I knew for sure that I was doing things correctly, because I always wondered if I was being good enough before. But now I know, and the Holy Spirit's there to guide me. And a lot has happened since then. It's half my life. Got married in the Lord, have kids in the Lord. But I wanted to give a funny little testimony, because sometimes I forget like how big these things were at the time, but I like to bring them out. And I don't know if everyone's heard this, but when I was out, I got spirit filled. I think it was the day before college started. So I was out at uni. It was 3 hours away from where I lived and where Nikki and Chris were situated. And, freshly spirit filled, newly in the scriptures. And it was a lot of money to be in the dorms, but it was a requirement for the first year at uni. And it was basically the price of tuition. So you pay tuition, and then like the whole price of that is to stay in the dorms and have a meal plan. So I was working all that I could work, all the hours I could at the catering that was there. And the one time I came back with a check. So all the money that I was getting was essential, because all the extra money other than gas to get home on every other weekend to fellowship, I was spending it on my tuition and my room and board. And I was having to pay those bills because I didn't have a supplementary loan. I didn't have an additional loan at that time. So I got my check from one of the buildings, which is close to where the dorms were. And then I walked out to the car to get in the car. And because you're a freshman and you're just basically a peon, the freshman car park was really far away from everything else. So it was a long walk to get to where my car was and the lot. And it was there was no building. It was just an open lot with gravel all over the ground. And so I got in the car, and then I drove into the actual town so I could go and cash my check. When I got to the bank, I'm looking around in my stuff and I don't have my check. And I start panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what could have possibly happened to my check. So I look around in all my stuff again and again, go back to my car, look in my car. It's nowhere to be found. And I'm in a full-on panic because all this is like time sensitive too. So I get in my car and I'm like, I have to retrace my steps. I drive back to the parking lot, park my car, walk all the way back to the dorm, look in the dorm. I feel like I had stopped there before I went to my car. So I went back there to check, look through all my stuff, and I couldn't find it there. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how long it takes to cut a new check, because it's kind of like, they're a big business, Aramark, if you've ever heard of it. They're a food service, and they do food service everywhere. So I didn't know the steps required to get a new check. And I started panicking, and I'm like, okay, all right, wait, you have the Holy Spirit. So let's just sit down and really pray about this. So I sat down, had some prayer. And after I was done, I looked around the room again, still didn't find anything. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to go back out to my car. I'm going to retrace my steps that way. So I went for the long walk back out to my car, into the gravel, open aired. And it's windy there. It was windy that day too. And I'm like, okay, I was, desperate, looking on the ground, looking all around. And when I get to my car there, I see like kind of wedged between two of the pieces of gravel was my check flapping in the wind. And the process, you can imagine it took multiple hours to do all the walking and go to and fro, and that the Lord kept it there. And I can't remember now because it's been years if I parked in the same spot or if I parked in a different spot when I came back. But it was a lot that wasn't always full because it was so far away. Not everybody had cars either when they were living in the dorms, but open air. And the Lord kept it hanging on, flapping for its dear life. So that was just a huge blessing. I've had a lot of quirky little provision blessings since then, but I knew it was miraculous because literally it was waving in the wind when I went to grab it. So like that's just of the Lord. So praise the Lord.